June 6, 1944. Dawn breaks over the English Channel as thousands of Allied landing ships race towards the beaches of Normandy. Machine gun fire echoes from concrete bunkers. Artillery shells explode in the surf. This is the largest maritime invasion in history, and one of the boldest. But let's change one detail. Hidden under a tarpaulin on one of these landing ships is something that should not exist for another 40 years. The main battle tank M1A2 Abrams, a heavyweight weighing 70 tons from the future, dropped into a real battle. So, what will happen when the most advanced tank on Earth appears on Hitler's Atlantic Wall? This is not grandfather's Sherman. The M1A2 Abrams weighs 67 tons, twice as heavy as any World War II tank. It is powered by a gas turbine engine with a capacity of 1,500 horsepower, roaring like a fighter jet. This tank can overcome obstacles that would stop an entire armored division while moving fast enough to outpace a Prius on the highway. 42 miles per hour. But that's not all. He has a smoothbore cannon with a caliber of 120 millimeters, firing shells twice as powerful as anything from 1944. Each shell can penetrate concrete bunkers as if they were made of cardboard and continue moving as if nothing happened. But of course, that's not all. It can not only carry 40 of these massive shells, but also 3 machine guns. At the top is a 50 caliber machine gun that can send you to your ancestors, along with 2 7.62 millimeter machine guns that can destroy your family tree before reloading. But the real breakthrough is its armor. Composite armor with protection made of steel, ceramics, and depleted uranium. The front of this tank can ignore hits that would vaporize Grandpa's pathetic Sherman. We are talking about protection equivalent to more than 800 millimeters of steel. Spoiler, out of 50,000 Nazis, about 0 are ready to fight against 800 millimeters of steel, with 2 machine guns, a rapid-fire 50 caliber gun, and an orbital cannon on the roof. Oh, and he has thermal imaging equipment that can detect enemies in complete darkness, as well as a laser rangefinder and a ballistic computer that automatically calculates shots. He can hit targets at over 2,000 meters while moving at full speed. And unlike the primitive weapons around, he will not miss. Every time he shoots, at least one Nazi will be wiped off the face of the earth. In 1944, this is essentially alien technology. But let's look at what he will face. Hitler's Atlantic Wall was designed to be impregnable, with concrete bunkers, scattered with 88 millimeter guns, machine gun nests covering every inch of the beach, anti-tank weapons, mortars, and artillery aimed at the landing zones. German defenders are armed with Panzerfaust anti-tank rocket launchers, Panzerschreck anti-tank rockets, and terrifying 88mm guns. These tank killers instilled fear in the Allied armored forces across Europe. These weapons could penetrate 200 millimeters of steel armor on World War II tanks. They were death sentences. But here's the problem. The frontal armor of the Abrams is equivalent to more than 800 millimeters of protection. These terrifying 80s can shoot at him as if throwing wet napkins. The beaches are also mined, strewn with steel obstacles, and guarded by experienced troops who have been preparing for this moment for years. On Omaha Beach, cliffs are filled with overlapping fields of fire designed to dye the water red. The ramp of a landing craft lowers. Bullets bounce off the armor of an Abrams tank like raindrops. The tank's engine roars, producing a sound that no one in 1944 has ever heard. It sounds like a demon from hell. Abrams moves forward into the water. The machine gun fire harmlessly ricochets off its hull. The Panzerfaust rocket swiftly flies toward the tank, leaving not even a scratch on the paint. The German shooter looks on in bewilderment as this monster tank ignores his best shot. The main weapon of the Abrams turns towards the nearest bunker and fires. The 120mm shell destroys the concrete position with a single shot, providing all inside with a ticket to the afterlife. Panic grips the German lines. Their anti-tank guns begin firing wildly. The 88 shells slam into the frontal armor of the Abrams and ricochet. At worst, the shooter inside might feel like they're in a massage chair. The tank doesn't even slow down. He climbs onto the beach as if it were a gentle hill. Steel obstacles that could stop other tanks are crushed beneath him. Barbed wire? He breaks through as if it were not there. The machine gun comes to life. The 50 caliber gun pierces German positions. The infantry rushes for cover as tracer bullets light up the morning sky. A coaxial machine gun eliminates targets with surgical precision. Moments later, Abrams breaks a clear path through the Atlantic Wall. Allied forces rush through the breach, no longer trapped in deadly crossfire. The bloody slaughter on Omaha Beach has turned into a leisurely stroll. But here's the problem. It's just one tank on a front 50 miles long. Abrams dominates his sector, but the battle for Normandy is happening on 5 beaches simultaneously. He cannot be everywhere at once, and time is running out. The gas turbine craves fuel like a drunken sailor. In the midst of intense combat, he has perhaps 6 to 8 hours before a refuel is needed. The problem is that aviation fuel JP-8 did not exist in 1944, like 120mm shells or specialized ammunition for its machine guns. Abrams brought enough firepower to change the course of a battle, but cannot sustain a campaign. As soon as the 40 shells of the main gun are exhausted, he will only have machine gun fire left. When the fuel runs out, he will become a very expensive firing point. And there is another problem: mines. The beaches are littered with anti-tank mines powerful enough to rip the tracks off even an Abrams. The destruction of mobility will leave the tank on the sand, where German artillery will ultimately be able to destroy it. The real impact of the situation is not limited to tactics. It is deeply psychological. The Allied forces watch as this invincible military machine breaks through the German defensive lines like a hot knife through butter. Morale soars to the heavens. Suddenly, victory seems not just possible, but inevitable. Panic rises on the German side. The air is filled with reports of an unstoppable supertank. Officers who had prepared for this invasion for years watch in horror as their carefully crafted plans crumble before their eyes. Some defenders flee, while others surrender, unwilling to face the mechanical monster. The 21st Tank Division, the strength of the German counteroffensive, is in shock. Their Panzer IV tanks and even the mighty Tigers suddenly feel outdated. Abrams can destroy them from miles away, while their return fire bounces uselessly off his armor. With Abramson in the frontline attack, the Allies establish a beachhead hours ahead of schedule. Key objectives, which historically took days to capture, fall in just a few hours. Communication between Utah and Omaha beaches is established on the very day of the landing, rather than a few days later. Casualties in the Abrams sector are rapidly decreasing. Thousands of lives lost in the original timeline are saved. The psychological impact extends beyond the battlefield. When news reaches England and America, unimaginable chaos begins on the home front. German commanders redirect artillery and reserves to combat the supertank, weakening their positions elsewhere. The domino effect accelerates the entire campaign in Normandy. But here's the thing. Despite all these successes, Abrams cannot win World War II alone. This is a force multiplier, not a war winner. Germany still has millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks, and fortified positions across Europe. The war will still have to be won through hard work, city by city, battle by battle. But Abrams gave the Allies an invaluable advantage: time and momentum. A faster breakthrough from Normandy could lead to the fall of Paris weeks earlier. The Rhine could be crossed in 1944 instead of 1945. Will the war end sooner? Perhaps. Will this save lives? Certainly. But Germany's final defeat was already inevitable by 1944. Abrams simply accelerates this inevitable victory and makes it less costly. And here is the last turn. What if the Germans capture a tank? Even a broken Abrams would become a treasure trove of future technologies. The Allies would have to destroy him so he wouldn't fall into enemy hands, adding another layer of tension to the mission. Ultimately, Abrams could not stop World War II on D-Day, but he could absolutely stop the slaughter on the beaches. He would turn the bloodiest day of the invasion into a technological slaughter. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's impregnable fortress, would collapse in hours instead of days. This tank will be remembered as the miracle of Normandy, a harbinger of the future war that changed the course of history. For the soldiers fighting beside him, Abrams will become proof that sometimes the good guys really have a secret weapon. But one technology does not win wars. For that, courage, sacrifice, and determination are still necessary. Abrams simply ensures that courage will not be wasted on an impossible task.